Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Nancy Reyes with For Your Canine. A good start line can give you the competitive edge. A consistently good start line can lead to consistent performance, and consistent performance leads to more wins at whatever dog sport you do. We're going to talk today about how to develop your own start line routine that's going to work for you and that can give you that competitive edge at whatever dog sport you do. The beginning is the most important part of the work by Plato. That is very true. Most of us get really caught up in teaching all the technical skills and the more complexities of whatever sport we do, and we forget about the start lines and how we begin and all those things. And I think this is a really important piece of the competition and training element. You need to be able to have a good start and have a consistent start so that you and the dog are ready to do your thing at whatever sport you do. So we're going to talk today about that. So one of the things I wanted to address beforehand is some of the things that cause us to make mistakes or thought processes that maybe don't serve us well. So placing strict expectations on your performance is a real big one. We have to win or we have to do it perfectly. We also can get distracted at the trials with friends. And while dog sports are a social thing for all of us, just trying to do both more consistently and not get distracted by somebody else's performance or somebody else's issues is really helpful. Also, if you're having a difficult time in your life, most of us do the dog sports to have a break from our woes and enjoy time with friends and our dogs. So leaving those at home is really helpful. And overtraining, we see this very often. And sometimes when you don't have a good training session beforehand or something happens, it really can add a lot of anxiety and stress to our competition. And then worrying about the outcome, always having to get that title or get that ribbon. It's really adds a lot of unnecessary stress to our day. And then not planning really well, just going out there and trying to wing it and see what happens. I think even if you're in the beginning or trying to find some skills or see where you're at, an assessment, you still need to have a plan for those things. And also, when you see other people at trials that you feel are better than you, and this is always a perception that we have. Oh, they're better than us. We're never going to do that well. Well, that just doesn't help. That doesn't serve us thinking that way. And also worrying about what other people think. I think that's a really difficult thing because a lot of us get caught up in that. And then the big one is the fear of failure. And this is one I want you to really think about. Failing is how we learn. We start to learn how to do it differently, how to do it better. So if we don't ever fail, we don't ever learn. So letting that fear pass is a really good thing, and just looking at it as an opportunity to learn instead of the fear of failure. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit about a strong start in agility because it's one of the sports I used to do a long time ago, and it's easy to explain and show. So in agility, having a strong mental game is really important in all dog sports. But here, this is kind of how you would go through some of the process. Planning, how the course should be run, how are you going to start, what's your focus or what's your goal for that particular run. For example, if you're trying to work on weave poles, you want to have that's going to be your focus. You're not going to worry about the rest. You're going to be concentrating on the weave poles for that particular run. And be specific and commit to it. Don't change your mind when you go up to the line and say, I'm going to try to do it perfectly. And then imagine, or more importantly, feel how that run is going to be. Imagine making doing a really good run, how it's going to feel. You want to really commit to that and imagine yourself running through the course and imagine how you're going to feel. This is a really important element, especially in agility. And one of the things we have in agility is rehearsal. In agility, we have a walkthrough, which is awesome because you're able to really get in that space. You're able to think about how you're going to feel. So really think about that when you're doing your next walkthrough in agility. Don't just walk through and just chat with your friends. Really think about how you're going to feel, how you're going to execute some of these things, and really use that time to rehearse your run. And then stay focused on what you're going to do, and stay focused on the goal, like I said before, and feel that run. And then when you're setting up, when you're aiming and align yourself and your dog to start, then focus, trust what you're doing, and let that feeling of that good run that you've already rehearsed take over before you start. So this is one way to have a nice strong start. There's a little bit more to it in that you need to figure out how you're going to align yourself and all those things, but this is something to think about when you're getting ready to start a run. So this is an example. This was a friend that wanted a better start. The dog was taking off early, wasn't waiting until she goes. So the goal for this particular run for her was a good start for the dog, and not where the dog's not taking off before too soon. So here's her focus. She was trying to align the dog. The dog kept getting up because she was very excited. And again, the goal here was to see if you can get a good start. She got the dog in position. She took off the leash, which was part of the process. And she was mentally able to then do that, get that start for this particular dog. So these are some of the things you want to think about when you're setting up for your agility run or nose work or barn hunt, for all sports, right? What is your goal for that particular run? And the other thing that really helps with start lines is it also gets you ready, but it also gets your dog ready to be able to have a good start. Because if the dogs get used to starting in a wild, crazy fashion or not really focused, then it doesn't serve you, right? So you want to make sure that you and the dog. So in this picture, you see, is this dog ready? How do you think this dog's run will go? Well, he was very aroused, and the run here, this was for our nose work run, didn't go so well because he was so amped up. She didn't do the protocol to help calm him down or get him more focused. So it shows. So really having a good start for both you and the dog is so important. So this is another dog here that's pretty aroused and pretty excited about starting. And you see how this particular handler sets her up and gets her ready to go. So as you can see, she's pretty excited. So if she would let her go at this early on, it wouldn't have been very effective. But here, that small pause was very helpful in getting that dog ready to go, and she did a really nice job of finding that particular hide. So the anticipation phase, which is a trademarked phase by mental management, Lenny Bashan. I'm a certified mental management instructor. So we're using the anticipation phase is where the start line routine comes in. That's where you start it. That's where you develop it. It's what you think about before you start any action. And again, this is for any sport. Human, football, basketball, dog sports, and we're specifically talking about dog sports for this particular training. So the anticipation phase is where you develop and start your start line routine. So the start line routine starts with, like the night before, what do you do to get ready for your trial? All of it matters. Being organized and having that set up really matters. The night before, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking good things? Are you getting ready while you pack your car, while you're getting your stuff together? How are you using the night before and the morning of to get ready for your trial? Are you feeling anxious? Are you feeling stressed? So having things that you work on the night before to help you relax and look forward to the trial is really helpful. Also, on the drive to the trial, what are you feeding your brain? Are you listening to music to help you relax? Are you listening to a podcast? Are you listening to an audiobook? All these things are little tips and tricks that you can use on your way to the trial site, right? So if you start to get anxious and worried, to have your brain focus on something else. Use a podcast, use a book on tape, music that you like, that you enjoy. plan for all of that so that you have that handy when you're going to the trial, so that you can, instead of driving to the trial stressed out, you can focus your brain on something else that's going to feed your brain positive, really good, relaxing things. And then when you get there, what do? Are you on time? Are you rushing? Does it make you stress when you get to the trial? Have something that you can do when you get to that trial site to help you relax. Taking deep breaths is really a good one. You can take some deep breaths, relax, and before you get out of your car and get and start your day at the trial. So the other thing too is a strong start line eliminates rushing, because when you're rushing, nothing good will come of that. So a couple of things for a strong start line: visualization, which we talked about, how you're going to visualize your run. So run, whether it's agility or nose work, and in canine nose work, you are not able to do a walkthrough. You have a virtual, but you could visualize how you're going to feel in that space, how you're going to feel in that covering your search area, how you're going to feel. That's really what you want to tap into, is how you're going to feel in that space. So before you start, you always want to have a physical trigger, right? First, for your start. In agility, it could be taking off the harness, petting the dog on the head, could be anything very simple, or touching a bracelet of yours, whatever. And then find your focus. So you would want to focus on the course or the search area or your dog's collar or your dog's nose, something to focus on prior to starting your run. Again, and run, I mean in any sport. And then you want to have something you think about prior to starting. So it could be a physical or a verbal. So you can have a positive thought like, oh, I'm covering my search area, or it could be physical. For me, I take a breath. I breathe in for 2 and exhale for 4 a few times, and that really helps me calm down before I start my runs. So before you start your agility run, or before you start your nose work or barn hunt, whatever it is. So this is the steps for a good, strong start line. And the mental game is really important in a good start line. So the mental rehearsal, right? You rehearse how you want to feel during the task and rehearse doing it well. How you feel, oh, I'm going to do this. When you're going to go in, are you going to feel confident, relaxed? For nose work, like I said, we had virtual walkthroughs. You can really think about that, and you can really rehearse that in your car or the night before. For agility at the course, while you're waiting your turn, you can think about how you're going to feel and focus and visualize yourself running through that course. And always most importantly is really rehearse performing well, doing it very well. Because your brain doesn't really know if you're doing it or just thinking about it. So feed your brain all that good stuff. So usually there's a physical trigger that tells you and the dog that we're getting ready to get started, right? So example of a physical trigger, I use a hand in the collar for my dog for nose work. You can pat him on the chest. You can take the leash off or harness off in agility. If you have it on you, touch your bracelet, or you can start with a deep breath. So really it's limitless what you can do for a physical trigger. The big important thing with a physical trigger is make sure it's something you can repeat all the time, every time. And all these things should be done in training as well, so that you get used to doing it. So see what works for you and for your dog, and what helps you both get more focused on the task at hand. So here's an example of a little start line that this handler has with this dog for nose work. So she does a lot more physical stuff with her dog, and her dog is very comfortable with it. So that's the other thing. If you're going to use a physical thing with the dog, you really definitely want to make sure that your dog is comfortable with that. And then find your focus and your last thoughts. So what you want to do is, set the eyes. And it could be, you could set the eyes on the course. You could look at your dog's nose. You could look at your dog's back of your dog's head. It doesn't matter. So you want to just focus on something. Don't just be looking around and distracted. Really focus on what you're going to do. And then the last thing you think about before you start. So again, going back to that, it is, do you have a physical cue? You can pat the dog's chest, or you can take a deep breath. That's what I do. But you choose what's going to work for you and for your dog. Really, really important. Um, so the strong start line includes a strong mental game and routine. So, and doing it often and in training is really important. So you want to have your routine for your trial, but you also want to do it in training so it becomes second nature. And for your dog, it really helps keep them, oh, like, oh yeah, this is what we're doing. We're getting ready to do XYZ, whatever that particular sport is. And the other thing is, if you have multiple dogs, you really want to make sure that you have a different routine for all your dogs, right? Because they're not all the same. And some dogs like the physical part. Some dogs are really great with physical touch, and other dogs really aren't. So you want to make sure your dog is okay with it. So this is a run, it's nose work. For this handler, she had a good start. She did everything right. And what happened there, she had a little bobble. But one of the things that you'll see, she recovered very nicely from that and did very well on this run. And that's one of the things that a good start will also give you, is the ability to make good decisions on the fly in the middle of a trial, which is really, really important. So again, a consistent, good start really is very helpful. And you'll see she goes through her routine. She's checking everything out, making sure she's okay. She's taking that minute. She's giving that dog the physical cue, and she's able to get started. Now, again, you'll see a little bobble here, which is not bad at all. She was so nervous she forgot, but then she corrected herself. And see, this is the big piece, right? The big part is like, were you able to recover? A lot of times if your starts are not good, the recovery is really, really difficult. So I want you to think about a good start line. You want to do the visualization. You want to have your physical cue. You want to have your focus. You want to also set the last thought. Your conscious mind can only handle one thought at a time. So before you start, you want to have a really good start, or a really good thought, a positive, so that way you're not, you're thinking, your mind, other things can't creep up into your mind to cause you some stress and all that. So this is a very good run. The handler did a really, really nice job of recovering from the little bobble. So this is why I wanted to show you. I can show you 1,000 perfect runs, but I really wanted to show you how, with a good start line, and when something happens, how you can work on that. So again, developing your strong start line, visualization, mental practice of your run, feel the feeling, physical trigger, what worked for you and your specific dog. Prepare your body and your dog's body for action. So make sure you're both on the line and you're both focused. And a thought before you start. What are you going to be thinking about before you start? Not like, I hope I can get it, I hope it works. It's like, no, we're gonna have a great run, or whatever it is for you and whatever works for you. Thank you all for listening. I hope this helps you with developing your own strong start line so that you can go out there and win.